Welcome everybody to Right Night. We will get started just in a few minutes. Give some time for folks to log in. In the meantime, you could tell us where you're joining us from in the chat. Good evening, everybody. My name is Carlos. I'm a co-facilitator in our community outreach program. I want to welcome everybody to Free Minds on the Same Page Right Night. This is a mutual exchange of hope and healing between incarcerated poets and our community. Our featured poet ambassadors tonight are Free Mind members Zach and Regina. In conversation with my co-host Jamilah, our multi-talented Free Minds Reentry Coach. So thrilled to be here with you tonight, Jamilah. And we thank you all for joining us as well. I want to extend a warm welcome to our returning night writers and to any new volunteers that are here for the first time tonight. We also have Free Minds members who are at home in the community joining us. Please post in the chat where you're joining us from. And if this is your first time, this is your first Right Night. Or if you have attended a Free Minds event in the past. Also, before you leave a comment, please make sure to click on everybody. That way we could all see the chat. Our incarcerated poets would definitely be thrilled to know how many community members are supporting them with and what cities and states and countries they're joining us from. Here's how we will go tonight. We will have a conversation with Zach and Regina. We will have a chance to answer any of your questions until about 7:25. Please put any questions you have in the Q&A button below at any time. Then we will share some quick tips on how to use the platform arrow and in order to give poetry feedback. And we will all be joining on the same page. Now I will turn it over to Jamilah, who will introduce for Zach and Regina. Jamilah.
Good evening. Thank you, Carlos. It's wonderful to be a part of Free Minds family and to be here with you all tonight. So I'm going to jump right into introducing our fantastic poet ambassadors. We have Zach. Zach became a Free Minds member in 2020 after 4 years of prison. Since returning home to Idaho over 2 years ago, Zach continued to be an active member of our reentry program. Zach is an active father of 3. His job is to build RVs, recreational vehicles. Zach is a writer and a musician. His dream is to establish a community art space for participants of all ages to share poetry, musical performances, and other art forms. Zach performs spoken word poetry live and has 3 poems published in Exemplary magazine. Regina joined Free Minds as a Women's Book Club member in 2022. While incarcerated briefly at DC jail, this experience impacted her deeply. Regina now works at Free Minds as administrative assistant and serves as a poet ambassador. Regina is a proud mom of 3 while working and earning a college degree and MBA. Regina previously worked as an AmeriCorps mentor serving youth in DC public schools and as an office automation clerk at NIH. Regina's hobbies are writing poetry, reading, dancing, and fashion. She enjoys doing outdoor activities and with her children attending all of their outdoor sporting events. Thanks, Zach and Regina, for being here with us tonight. Carlos, I guess we can get started with the conversation now.
Thank you, Jamilah. We'll start with Zach. Zach, we are definitely happy that you're getting your poetry out in the world and in print and as well as performing, because you're definitely a talented artist. We're excited. We're excited to hear that one of your most recent poems that you performed, it was in Juneteenth. Congratulations for that. Can we start by asking you to share that poem with us?
Yeah, for sure. It's titled Most Won't Know. Most won't know what it's like to grow up around smile in your face racism. Not Black enough, but accepted to an extent because of my father. Not Hispanic enough for lack of the native tongue and no desire to follow up. I am my father's son. So yeah, that smile in your face was felt in many angles, different from just another N-bomb. not considered gente with my 50% Mexican blood and my Caucasian surroundings, not truly accepting of either parts of me, smiles in my face, seething something different. Strange fruit indeed I was. Mid-80s, early 90s, every day was internal fighting, fighting to control my inner rage and desires for attention and a sense of belonging. I pulled through quite strongly. I was a stereotypical never mind. And no, now I've found many regrets. It should have never been about my skin tone. It should have always been about my humanity. Nevertheless, I still talk like I talk and walk a little different, laughing inside as I do because some people respect it. Others, I think, I don't know, maybe they think something else. Is being considered the M-bomb a culture? Is that what it's about for validity as a Black person? Excuse me, but I'm a Black Hispanic individual and I'm still my father's son, just the same as I am me. Madre is hijo.
Okay.
Wow, that was a powerful poem, and hearing in your voice, because I've read it before, right? And it's like the power of the emotion just oozes out of it, right?
Yeah.
And I can relate so much to it because trying to fit in and being accepted was a challenge for me as well, right? Tell me a little bit more about what made you write this poem. Was there something in particular that inspired you to write it?
So all of my life, I've been trying to, find my fitting in this world and also gain some understanding of my positioning in it, trying to fit in here and fit in there, or, find some medium. And there never was any. And it's also how I got started, writing, trying to understand and interpret this world and my emotions as I go through it. And so from a young age, I've been trying to pinpoint exactly what it was or, what it could be. And that's what it came to. I finally was able to spit the words out through my pen.
That's amazing. And you use one of those things that stick out as your emotions, right? Let me ask you a quick question. Like how did reading and writing and education help you to express these emotions?
Well, I'd have to say there's many forms of expression, but going through life in this world and, trying to understand your own emotions, you can't really call it anything unless you know words, which come through reading and writing. And once you know that, you can finally start to describe everything in a manner which allows you to understand it. So, reading, writing, language arts. When I was in school, I took what was it? What was the class? Creative writing and stuff like that. Like those were my electives. And of course, music classes and stuff like that. I took a lot of those too.
That's big,
So
Jack.
education is very important, very, very important.
Yeah, that's big. You also had a chance to choose a poem by one of our members. You want to read that for us too?
I do. Can we scroll up a little bit? This one's titled Why I Write. Why I write is a sense of freedom to share with the masses. When I write, I'm free to express myself and use my words to make others feel my passion. The pain is like an ocean, so I let the ink flow like the water, or the waves, I should say. Sorry, I can't see, but can envision miles away. Every time I write, I create a new wave and continue to ride the wave until the ink in my pen dries out.
Yeah, Thank you, Zach, for reading that. And the crazy thing about this poem with you was there was a couple poems for you to choose from, and you couldn't make your mind up. But why did this poem stick out to you?
Like many things, as we become aware of our intellect, we start to think about why we do things and what drove us to do them in the first place and stuff like that. So, I always think about that. I always ask myself that before I put my pen to the page. Why am I doing this? It's also a preventing factor. If I'm really not feeling inspirational or have something to really get off of my mind and chest in an articulate fashion, it just doesn't work out. So I don't bother in those moments. But yeah, I picked that one because that's a question I often ask myself.
Well, Zach, and thank you, Zach, for definitely your poetry not only inspires us, but I believe it educates us, right? So thank you again for like sharing and being here tonight. Now I'll give it back to my co-host Jamilah and poet ambassador Regina.
Thank you.
Thank you, Zach. That was definitely inspiring. Regina, can you start us off with a poem you wrote recently, Dear Mama?
Sure, I'd love to. All right, this poem is entitled Dear Mama by myself. I know you did your best. You had me at 16. Maybe you wanted to be seen, to be heard, show some attention, some affection, show some love. A child trying to raise a child, but you were wild. The dangers of the world took control. Detention centers, drugs, and jail. I know it all had to feel like hell. Mom, I didn't know we had our first child at the same age. Generational curses, but it's time to make a change. I love you dearly and I miss you so much. I know you're looking down on me, watching me grow into the woman God created me to be, screaming loud. My daughter makes me proud. Even though you weren't the mom I wanted you to be, you were the best mom you could be at 16.
Wow.
Thank you, Regina. That was an amazing poem. It was deep, personal, and I can relate. And you don't even know how much you and I do have in common. When did you first start writing poems?
I first started writing poems and I want to say 2012, 2016, around that time. I was going through a whole lot at that time. And like I said, that poem is just like, I was going through some of the same things that I wrote in that poem. And I was write all my feelings, everything that had to do with any trauma I experienced, everything. I just wrote it in poetic form, which is my way of expressing myself. And so I just started writing my feelings down on paper.
Did writing poems kind of make you feel some healing in it?
There was definitely healing in it. I mean, I was healing as I was writing, but the trauma was still there. So it's like, and the situation that I was in it was hard to actually heal, like really heal, but it was healing at that time when I was writing it down. Yes.
Wow. Have you ever shared your poems before?
Actually, no, I didn't, because when I first started writing, a lot of my poems were kind of dark, and then, I was in a bad place, so I just kept them for myself. But lately, since I've been writing them in a different space, things are looking up, and I write more about some of the joyful things in my life right now, things that's going great, and so I'm able to share those poems with people.
Great. Has Free Minds gotten you to a point where you feel comfortable writing again and sharing your poetry?
Very much so. I mean, that first poem I wrote when I was incarcerated in the Women's Book Club was the starting point to my love of writing again.
Great. So what inspired you to write Dear Mama?
It was my mom's birthday, and it happened to be on Mother's Day. And I was like, I'm gonna write this poem. And actually, no, I wrote that this year, and it wasn't Mother's Day. But as I was writing the poem, I was thinking about last year and where I was last year. And so I was like, you know what, let me write this poem, because and that same this year on her birthday, May 8th, is when I realized that she was 16 when she had me, and I was 16 when I had my very first child, her first grandchild. And so it was like, wow, let me write something to commemorate my mom, and get some of the stuff I have on my chest off at the same time.
Great. It was beautiful.
Thank you.
So Regina, you also picked another poem for us from one of our Free Mind members, Behind the Walls. You care to share that with us now?
Sure. Finding the Beauty in the Storm by Darius S. Finding the beauty in the storm may be hard to do, but here's a short poem, me and you. Know with every drop of rain that falls from the sky, earth is brought back to life. The grasses grow greener, the trees taller, the animals bigger. Nourishment is given to us from Allah to enjoy, to help another year start for the many young girls and boys. So next there's a storm, stay focused on the beauty that's to come, and look for the rainbow that comes after everyone.
Beautiful poem. I like
Very
it.
good.
Why did you choose that one?
I chose it because it reminds me of, when everything starts to tumble and starts to crumble, and you think the world is coming down, you just got to think of that storm, because every storm brings things back to life.
Find
That's
the beauty in the storm. Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Regina, for sharing. And I guess now I pretty much have a question for all of us tonight. How important is it to receive mail while inside? And what tips or advice do you have for new Write Night volunteers as they give feedback on poetry tonight? Zach?
I would have to say, from experience, for me, gaining that acknowledgement that people heard me or read me, and it affected them in such a way. I guess connection is what to say about that. Not only that, the feedback is always so positive, and sometimes it creates an avenue of something else to think on, because a lot of the times I would get a question which would further my thought on the original piece. And I think that was probably like such a major deal for me, because I mean, when you're inside, there's not a whole lot of positive to dwell on, and this is an enlightening act from the outside world, especially if there's not a whole lot of people to talk to from the outside world.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So that was, yeah.
Regina, you?
Mail was important because my religious kind of things that I practiced, they weren't offered at the jail, and so I had to get them from the outside, and I wasn't getting those things, but everybody else was able to, go to their, whatever religion that they had, was able to do what they were able to do. I wasn't able to do that, and so my mail was very important to me, and I didn't have a lot of friends in there either, so I tried to keep myself occupied with things that would get me through my time, even though it was a short amount of time. I needed something that would keep my hope up, keep my hope alive. And so that's why mail was so important to me. And writing is just like pen to a paper bring about words more powerful than any gesture. And so you can say something to somebody and write something to somebody. And I think that would be just as more powerful, if not powerful, than just actually being there, or just give, I think it's more powerful than a gesture.
I agree, because you can read it over and over and over again.
Exactly.
Yeah. Carlos, you care to share?
Yeah, I definitely jump in. And it's pretty much similar to both. Like being in the inside for me was it created a window. Mail created a window that allowed me to look out into that world that I left behind. And that window at times was big and at times was small, but it still allowed me to see. And that's what mail means to me.
Awesome. Okay. That's it.
Go ahead, Jamilah.
No. I just want to know, is it time for the Q&A?
Yes, definitely. So you both are doing many great things. Do you have any goals or a next chapter you want to share? Like either one of you could go first.
I mean, for me, it's just, I wouldn't mind in my next chapter of writing anyway. I want to, possibly, well, not possibly, but I do want to take all my poems and at some point make them into a book where people can read, my poetry, because my poetry is about me, but I'm sure somebody else can relate to these poems as well. So I would like to get my poems out as a means of healing, as a healing process for somebody else, like it has been for me.
Zach?
There's a lot to talk about for me. Also, that's been something that I've been trying to get done as well. But then I think I overthink. So it's like organization of different styles of stuff that I've written and some other things in that nature. But this individual that I've been dealing with out here, he's probably one of our first Black business owners in Twin Falls, Idaho. He also put together a coalition that we established a Juneteenth celebration because we didn't have stuff like that out here. And anyways, he inspired me, and now I want to get more involved in the community. But he's got some major things going on, like he wants to put together like a community center for adolescents and individuals, that probably come from the same backgrounds as us, where people can focus on getting their GEDs without, having to worry about costs and things of that nature, and different stuff like that, like kind of like trade school type of deal, but open to any and all. And I really would like to be a part of that. I just don't know how I'll fit into it yet. But
Gotcha.
It's all in the works and I got time. So hopefully, in the future, hopefully near future, that's what it is.
And you're definitely very driven, and I know you're gonna get it done. Let me ask you another question now while you're not talking, because like I could see you in my mind, I could see you performing, right? So my question is like, what is that feeling like as you did, like this is your way of sharing your poetry? What is that feeling like when you were up there performing your poetry?
I've performed in a few different lightings. Music is one thing, and that's great too, but to be on a small stage or whatever, and the whole room is quiet and, just a couple of few little snaps or, stuff like that in the background, dim lit, and people actually receiving my writing exactly how I intended it to be received, at least from my point of view, is probably the greatest feeling I've felt ever, probably, most definitely. And it could be a crowd of 3, 5, 10, 15 people. It's all about seeing people get me, understand me and feel my whole vibe, I guess, is, they say.
Gotcha. And thank you for sharing that. Regina, a similar kind of question. And the thing for you that like for you is like, once upon a time you shared with us, you did not share poetry, right? So your platform is different. And my question is like, well, before that, it's like, it takes courage to do that, and you've shared a lot of that with us in the past. What is that feeling like to be able to now, to be okay with it now?
It feels great because now I'm a little bit more proud of my work. It makes me proud of my work. It makes me know that my work is meaningful.
Mm-hmm.
When I've done the OTSPs, in the past and share my poems with, the audiences that I've had the privilege of sharing them with, I've got a lot of great feedback, which makes me know that this is a good direction for me. It's not just a hobby for me anymore like it was before. It's more of a way of trying to express myself to possibly help somebody else express themselves, even if it's through my poetry.
Thank you, Regina, and thank you both for sharing that. And just for everybody, if you want to continue to support our work, you could always hit the donate button on our website. We'll definitely put that link in the chat. Every little help, every little bit helps, even if it's just like one stamp, $1. That's enough to send the mail out, send the poetry back to our members. So anything would help. So definitely go in and hit that donate button. Now what we're going to do is just give a few tips on how to maneuver around Miro, which is the platform where you're going to be able to give the poetry. Wait a minute. Before that, I missed something. Okay. We have questions for you both, and I almost missed it. Right, this is for both Regina and Zach. What is about poetry? Do you think makes it easier to express hard things or feelings than in person? This is for both of you.
I'm sorry. Can you repeat the question?
What is it about poetry that of what you think makes it easier to express hard things or feelings than it is in person?
For me, it's that I don't know, like it's hard for me to express myself to somebody in person the way I would want to, because it either won't come out right, I don't have enough time to think about it, and so to write all of these things down on paper and in the format that I chose to write it in, it makes it easier for me to express myself. And my tone the tone you can feel, the tone in my voice will be different from the tone on the paper, so it's like it gives me enough time to really stop, think, and express myself the way I know, in a way that is going to be presentable to somebody else.
Right. Thank you. Zach, how about you?
I was challenged by a brother while I was locked up. In my response, I can't remember what it was he questioned me about, but my response to him was that all of life is a poem. A musician would say all life is music, and it all ties into a rhythm, like a heartbeat. Same concept. And without that rhythm, there's no life. So it makes sense to me to use poetry as an expression of my emotions, because I can give it a different type of rhythm than I could, with music or just a simple explanation. I think it deserves that rhythm or beat, especially if it's that thing that I'm so passionate about. Why wouldn't I do that?
That was beautifully put, Zach. I never heard that that connection with a heartbeat. That was beautiful put.
Yeah.
Another question for you, Regina, real quick. Do you have a favorite genre or a theme to read or write about?
Lately I've been reading a lot of self-help books, which has been able to kind of help me kind of on this particular journey that I'm on right now, just on a more just helping me change my mindset, just to be, the best mother, the best person, the best friend, the best of anything that I can be, because at one point it was like I really didn't think I was all these things. I really didn't understand me. And so to be able to, you know, gravitate to these books that will help me understand me, learn myself, and be able to express myself in a way that others can perceive me as being me. Because it's been really hard for me to just be myself sometimes. Because I've been trying to be everything else and everybody else. So yeah.
Get it.
Self-care, right? That's big. And Zach, this question is for you, right? How did people respond to your poem on Juneteenth in your hometown, Idaho?
I was satisfied with the reception that it got. It wasn't a major deal. Couldn't have been no more than 30 people there. And but I mean, I was actually surprised at, you know, how many people responded to it. And that just told me that this is what I need to do, even more so than I already knew. I was quite amazed at myself, to be honest.
As you should.
Definitely.
Definitely.
I enjoyed that poem.
Yeah, that was a deep one. Like I said, I connected to it in my own ways, and so definitely was deep. So thank you both, just for answering those questions too. But so now, sorry for moving so too fast, but now we'll go into our just a few tips on how to maneuver around our platform Miro. Really, there's only like little quick tips. Is just 5 things that you need to remember, right? The very first thing is this blue arrow. This opens the doors to allow you to start writing. You can enlarge the poems with the zoom button at the bottom right, and just minus and plus, and wait for a second. If it seems blurry, just wait for a second. It'll become clear. The T over to all the way to the left. When you click on it and come over to the poem, just click and just start typing, and this allows you to just write whatever. You could scroll to the right for more poems once you finish typing. And finally, put the poet's first name. This is one of those friendly spaces. And also, when you finish with your name. There are two mirror boards, and each one has different poems. So make sure that you check them all out. The first page here on the mirror table also has links to access the other table. Mirror works best on a computer and a tablet. So if you're using your phone, we recommend using the Google document with the poems. That link will be in the chat as well. And it's here on the first page of the mirror table as well. If you have any questions or you need support or anything, you could call our staff until 8:30 p.m. tonight, and that phone number will also be in the chat. Thank you all for coming. Please click on the link in the chat to read the poems on the virtual tables and continue with the next part of Write Night. Please enjoy the poems, and we look forward to seeing you on our next Write Night. So please come back. Regina, Zach, Jamilah, thank you for being here tonight. It was great.
Thank
Welcome.
you.
Thank you for having
Thank
me.
you, fellows. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
And we'll be closing the Zoom in a little bit, so make sure you click on the link. It will be in the chat if you haven't done so already. And begin by responding with the poems. Thank you again. Have a great night.